I wanted to, commend particularly Rep. Pine too for a lot of her work in similar to Representative Finnegan, crime and this notion in maybe the legislature that seems to, via the legislation that's been introduced anyway, so much attention to the perpetrator and their rights, but where is the balance to having attention to the victim's rights? And I know that you've been leading with Karen's Law, and also, one of the measures that I think we all voted on recently, that measure to give prisoners back the right to vote, which is so rare, I think, in any state in the U.S., because the notion being that it is a privilege to be a citizen. So many people from other countries want to come here to be a citizen, go through the naturalization, the process, and that also there's the police department brought out the issue of the changing of names, right? So I mean, you're so right that we need maybe to get back to where are the victims' rights? Where are the victims' rights?
And the really great thing is that you're not just sitting idly by and talking about victims' rights, you're actually advocating for victims' rights, and you're getting legislation passed. For all of you that don't know, Representative Pine has a wonderful bill that is still alive. It's HB 819 HD2 SD1. It's called Karen's Law, and Karen's Law would mandate that juveniles at the age of 15 to 17 be tried as adults for committing heinous acts of crime, as in murder in the first and second degree. Can you explain why this is so great for our community, and can you possibly tell us where it is in the stream right now and what people have to do to get on board with this type of legislation?
Well, really, this was brought forth by a family that felt victimized by the criminal justice system. Here's a family that knew the perpetrator, who saw this juvenile go in and out of jail multiple times on 10 different felony cases. Some of them were violent, and he got out every time, and they talked about their frustration of experiencing that, and then finding their own mother that was killed and raped by this 15-year-old neighbor. She was going to testify against him for one of these cases, and of course that's what made it a first-degree assault in terms of murder. And the family really talked about how they felt so victimized. They had to go to this first trial that took almost 2 years just to decide whether this person who violently murdered someone, their loved one, would be trialed as an adult or not. And now they got to go through the main trial. And the problem with going through that first trial is because it was in a juvenile family court, everything that the family went through, all the interviews, all the court proceedings, they can't use any of that in this second trial. They have to go through the complete thing all over again. And so they brought this issue to many legislators, and a lot of people didn't want to touch it. And it is complicated because it deals with juvenile law, but it really helped to promote this discussion. And even police officers are saying that the 15 to 17-year-olds are being targeted by the gang members to do the violent crimes because they can get away with it. So by actually not making it serious enough in terms of our law that first and secondary murder is a serious thing no matter what age you are, we're actually victimizing children in a way that we never thought. And so I'm really happy that it's got a lot of bipartisan support this year, and Judiciary Committee is the hardest though in the Senate, and so we're trying to get it heard there right now. Yeah, so.
And especially with Karen's Law, if you do want to get involved in any way, you can always email Representative Pine at reppine@capital.hawaii.gov. This way you can place in a testimony in support of Karen's Law, or you can also email Representative Mizuno, as he is also on the bill. He introduced the bill as well. So these are ways that you at home in the public can get involved and make a difference. It's one testimony at a time, a little bit of support from you guys, and we can go long strides.